What do AfD Bundestag members message each other about when they think no one's listening? Now we know thanks to some awkward text leaks. Plus, another state election has happened out west, somewhat confusingly. And what do East Germans feel about Russia? Konrad reports back from Erfurt. Mahlzeit!
Everybody, it's Megan's Megacan time. I'm Megan. I'm here with ex-Berliner Magazine and Konrad Werner. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm good.
Good. I'm excited you're good. It's a lovely day. We're having lovely weather in Berlin at the moment.
Except the weekend.
Yeah, it was quite stormy at the weekend.
And there was a tornado in Paderborn.
There was a tornado in Paderborn?
Yeah. It's a long
Is
way
everyone okay?
I don't know, but there was a tornado. It was a bit crazy. It's not often you get tornadoes in Germany, but climate change, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously the weather is terrifying in many ways, but it's also really nice.
I've depressed you already, even though we just talked about the weather.
I know.
Oh, well.
I'm going to have to stop doing that at the beginning of every episode because I know what's coming. Anyway, we're all here. Is there anyone that we need to shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to Ivy, our new patron on Patreon.
Thank you very much, Ivy.
Yeah.
I can't believe we have patrons.
Yeah, we've got 8 now.
8
people.
God, that's bound to be more than Shakespeare ever had. Mind you, he probably didn't have Patreon. Makes it a bit easier. If we had to go and hustle in the streets of Tudor London, it might be a bit different.
And promise to write them poems and that.
Oh,
It'd be
Jesus.
difficult. Yeah. But luckily we have the internet and there's this website called patreon.com/Megan's Megacan, and if you go on there you can give us money if you like.
If you like, you can indeed. Or not. You can keep listening. Either way. Mega?
Yes, please.
All right. Sun is shining. It's not a Friday. It's a Monday, but still. So we're going to have some cocktails because it is coming into, it's definitely drinking. It's already drinking in the park season. And not all of the cocktails are created equal. But we do have a Captain Morgan Mojito or Lynchburg Lemonade. You're staring at the Lynchburg Lemonade. Is that what you want?
I was looking at it already before you even held it up.
I sort of hide them down the back of my chair, listeners, so that they're a surprise for Konrad. But
I spied it. And,
you want it?
Yes, I would.
Well, that's good because I'm really excited that we got Captain Morgan Mojito because Monday night boozing.
Monday night megas.
Monday of a 3-day week in Berlin. 3-day week for teachers, but...
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's just the ticket.
Yes, my memory serves me correctly. And I was going to get 2 of these, but they only had 1 left in the shop. Probably because a Captain Morgan Mojito Megacan is delicious. Really good, very summery, fresh, sweet but not sickly. Do not bother with the Bacardi mojitos. Sorry, Bacardi, but they're shite.
Why?
I can't remember why we think they're just not good. From what I recall, I think too sweet. They don't taste.
But I'm very happy with my Lynchburg Lemonade. It's one of my favourites. I like the citrusy whiskey one.
It's a good one.
It's an excellent one, yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for some cocktails, maybe someone's having a birthday in the park and you want to bring them a gift. I always, if you don't know someone that well, but you're going to their birthday, you got to bring a little gift. And I always think 2 Megacans is nice.
There's no better icebreaker than a Megacan.
There really isn't. There really isn't. Now that we have booze.
Would you like some news?
Absolutely not. But this is presumably why we're here. So let's continue.
So the AfD was in the news.
No.
It was such a big story that even the Guardian did it.
Is it
German
that they've
domestic
decided
politics.
they're going to change their ways? They've had a sort of Scrooge moment. Someone's visited them in the night and now they're like, I'm gonna change. Is that it? Is that what we're dealing with?
No, it was leaks of 40,000 WhatsApp messages from the last 4.5 years. So from the entirety of the last legislative period of the Bundestag faction, the Bundestag group of the AfD, all of their messages on this one group, which was called the Quasselgruppe.
Quassel? Spell that for me.
Quassel.
Yes. Und was heißt dann Quassel?
It means the Guardian translated it as yakking, as in chatting.
Oh, they're such boomers.
Yeah. Well, it's like chatting. It's like, wittering.
Blethering, as you were saying, maybe.
Yeah. So these
How does that even happen?
Well, probably a former disgruntled former member of the AfD who had access to these somehow got them. They were leaked to the broadcasters NDR and VDR, which are public broadcasters, and they made a big documentary about it and a podcast series, so you can watch that. It's quite interesting.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do you want to know some of the things they said? Group.
Oh wow! Should we try and guess? I mean, I don't want to make light of the terrible things that they've presumably said, but
so what do you think Bundestag members of the AfD talk about when they think no one's listening?
Oh Jesus wept.
For example, on the subject of Angela Merkel.
Probably not very nice things. Do they bring up 2015 constantly?
They said that this rat belongs in jail.
Oh, okay. Wow, we've gone a lot. I thought this would at least be sort of civil, like saying what they really thought sort of politically, because again, this is a professional...
These are the people that the AfD have chosen to represent the whole party in front of the nation in the parliament. This isn't just rank and file members.
Yeah, so this rat belongs... I'm trying to think of, because obviously like we have like a... teachers, everyone's got group work WhatsApps or whatever. Good God. All right, so this rat belongs in jail?
Yeah, there was that. Someone said, "Was ist aus unserem Vaterland geworden?"
Oh, no.
What has become of our fatherland? Sort of a plaintive tone to that one.
It's okay to still say the fatherland, is it?
No, it's a bit weird.
Are we done with that?
Speaking of which, there was one person said, es gibt die Möglichkeit eines Siegertribunals, Nürnberg 2.0. There is the potential for a victor's tribunal, Nuremberg 2.0. As in, they want to do...
So what do they mean by Nuremberg 2.1? Do they mean justice will be served again, or a time to redo it?
Yeah, I guess when the AfD takes over, they will. I don't know. It's a kind of like... It's hard to tell.
These people are just nuts.
They'll do a Nuremberg type thing.
Is it possible that these are all jokes? Sorry, I forgot it was the Bundestag. I apologize. You think I'd learn?
There was one message that said the only chance that anything will happen in this country is if there is an economic collapse, and then der Funke wird rüberspringen von Frankreich und Italien. They can think of the far right in France and Italy as being stronger, and they were hoping that like an economic collapse in Germany would cause a kind of, they don't say the word revolution, but they say like the old regime would collapse when the economy collapses, and the AfD will take over, I guess. But it sounds like quite hardcore rhetoric. The AfD leaders did respond to this, including Alice Weidel. So the Alice Weidel and other AfD politicians. Alice Weidel's one of the more important. She's the co-leader.
Who's the other one again? Alex Weidel and
Tino Kruppala. They were confronted with this on the documentary, and she said, "What group is that from?" And as if this can't be right. I would not know what they're talking about that. And then they said, "Well, it's from the Quasselgruppe," and she went, "Oh, the Quasselgruppe. That's not good," because that is the Quasselgruppe included 70-something of the AfD's Bundestag members. Let me get the number right. 76 of the 92 AfD MPs were on the group at some point from 2017 to 2021. Alice Weidel wasn't in the group because she was the leader. So this was like, this is the employees chatting amongst themselves, so their boss can't.
Yes. We're all in some of those chats. And if you're not, the chats are about you.
And then she was like, she said like that. Obviously, I would like to distance myself from this rhetoric, but I can understand the sentiment.
In public, at least.
Yeah. So,
God.
So that kind of happened, and there was like I could go into a bit more detail about. There was all this kind of going on about.
Was there anything sort of like out and out like racist? I mean, I don't want to give it.
There was some homophobic stuff about Jens Spahn when he almost became defense minister, and there were some homophobic comments about having a gay defense minister.
Take a pop at Jens Spahn any day on my watch, but not for the fact that he's gay. That's appalling.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is all obvious stuff. So, is there anything in there that would Like, is there going to be any like consequence in this? Is there anything that like if I'm an AfD voter, I'm going to be like, oh, that's too far, or
No, probably not. I
Okay.
think no. I mean, no one's going to get sacked over this, I would imagine. They'll just say, "Oh, it's locker room talk," as Donald Trump once said.
yeah.
And probably the members, the people, or the supporters probably think it's all right, you know, like, because that's the other thing. Because we're going to talk in a minute about the election in North Rhine-Westphalia, where the AfD nearly dropped out of the parliament again, but they scraped through. And it looks a lot like no one is really voting for the AfD anymore. They're becoming less and less relevant in elections, in state elections, at least at the moment, at least while this war is happening, and also because because they're often associated with Russia. A lot of their MPs were on RT on the Russian state TV, so they're not doing very well electorally at all at the moment. They're more of a political pariah, specifically in Western Germany. So all the elections this year have been in Western Germany. We had Schleswig-Holstein a week ago and North Rhine-Westphalia last Sunday. Would you like to know what happened in that election?
Yeah, because we were talking before we started recording. I was like, oh, we talked about that. You were like, no, that was a different state. So please, yes, refresh my addled, heat-oppressed brain.
So the one was Schleswig-Holstein is different because it's a very small state. There's like
Yes.
less than 3 million people live there.
Yes, and
North
it's
Rhine-Westphalia.
very odd that I've got these mixed up. North Rhine-Westphalia is the massive one.
Yeah,
It's the biggest, is it?
In terms of population, it's huge. It's the biggest in Germany.
Yeah.
18 million people live there. That's nearly a quarter of German people.
1 in 4 Germans live in North Rhine-Westphalia.
Oh, yeah. We
That's
got the whole
wild.
of the Ruhrgebiet. Ruhrgebiet is just one urban landscape. It's like one city blends into another around there. It's just huge, big in a working class industrial area.
I see. When we go on tour.
It's very densely populated. That area, Cologne is there. And the CDU won again, beating the SPD. That was quite a big deal because people thought CDU, SPD were neck and neck going into this.
Yeah.
Because the CDU had an untested leader, Hendrik Wüst, who only became state premier last October when Armin Laschet resigned. People thought, oh, it's going to be close and the SPD might win, but in fact they lost, and they lost by quite a lot. They lost by nearly 9 points.
Oh, wow.
So CDU 35.7, SPD 26.7, and the Greens came third with 18.2. There's probably going to be another CDU Green coalition there. And obviously the SPD would have been hoping, because they did so well in the federal election, they would have been hoping to win Rhine-Westphalia back, but they clearly didn't because Scholz has not been very popular.
And do you think that's why? It's not really like a state thing. It's to do with the SPD Bundestag?
Yeah, because there aren't that many issues in North Rhine-Westphalia. That's not really true. I mean, no. I think that the Ukraine war has dominated a lot of politics in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And Scholz has been quite unpopular because he's been perceived as dithering and he comes across as a bit arrogant on TV, and they also see him as not really supporting Ukraine decisively enough. He didn't come across very well, whereas the CDU is a little bit more decisive, but they also just sort of benefited from this weakness. The AfD only got to 5.4%, and you need 5% to enter the parliament, so they nearly dropped out altogether. And there was there's a sense that the AfD is kind of retreating to the east now, because that's the only place where people are still voting for them as an electoral force. Yeah.
So this Quasselgruppe thing is a bit, I mean, it's entertaining for like, it doesn't surprise me that The Guardian picked that up because it's the kind of thing that people click on and then it's like enjoyable for people who don't share the AfD's views to be like, oh, look at these idiots and what they've said. And they are idiots and should be called out for it, but it doesn't have any consequences, I guess. Okay, so that's North Rhine-Westphalia. North Rhine-Westphalia. Sorry, we need to use the like Lord of the Rings terms for we are an English language podcast. Okay, so Scholz is not doing very well, and that might, despite his, maybe we won't see, have we got any more state elections coming up that I've forgotten about or didn't know about or have mixed up with other ones or have thought have already happened?
No.
All right. Okay, so that's it. But the SPD have sort of failed to capitalize on a state level on their chancellorship.
Yeah, from here on in.
Mojito is absolutely delicious. I'll give some tasting notes while Konrad looks up what's happening. Captain Morgan, I think probably problematic figure from what I recall. Very, very nice Caribbean white rum mojito. Very fresh, lots of mint, but not like, it tastes like actual mint, not fake mint. How are you getting on there, Konrad? Do I need to keep talking?
Niedersachsen in October, that's it.
Niedersachsen.
That's
what is that?
That was the one I forgot.
Is that with Leipzig or Dresden?
No, it's neither though. It's not in the east.
Fuck's sake.
There's Sachsen.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Sachsen-Anhalt and Niedersachsen.
Sachsen is Dresden and Leipzig.
Yeah.
Okay.
This didn't come up in your German exam.
Absolutely not. Thank the good Lord. Thank the good Lord I got Jugendsprache, so I just talked about that for a while and shited on about the Abitur being unfair.
You didn't have to distinguish the Saxons.
No,
Okay.
No one should have to do that.
Yeah, no, we've just got Niedersachsen left, which is one of the biggest states in terms of surface area.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's the home.
It's like Niedersachsen, so I always kind of. But it's big.
Sounds
when you
rubbish.
Find it on the map, eventually you're like, oh, I should really know where that is because it's quite large.
Oh yeah.
So that's in October.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that for a while.
And Scholz needs to.
Well, the SPD is considered like extremely strong in Niedersachsen because they have an old state premier there who is very popular, and they're way ahead in the polls, and he's been there for years, and people like him. He's called Stefan Weil. No one really knows Stefan Weil. He's the state premier in. It's a very centrist state. It's a solid centrist state
In the middle of Germany, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's
so. It's the SPD in coalition with the CDU there. It's the home of Volkswagen, which makes a really big. It's in Volkswagen's in Wolfsburg. That makes a big difference because Volkswagen is basically one of the most important companies in Germany.
What did you once describe the CDU as? It was the best thing I ever heard. The CDU is a political wing of Volkswagen.
The German auto industry. Because the state part owns Volkswagen. So
I'm sorry. What?
So Volkswagen, I don't know why we got into this. I've not really. I should kind of check this. The state has a stake in Volkswagen, and I think the state premier of Niedersachsen sits on one of the boards in Volkswagen. Whoever the state premier is, they sit on the board of the Aufsichtsrat, not the executive board, but the supervisory board. I think they have like a say in what happens in Volkswagen.
No, thank you.
But that might all be a lie, and I might have to correct that next week because I wasn't prepared for this. But yeah, there's something like that. There's some.
All right.
It's quite closely bound together. Like the fate of Volkswagen and the fate of Niedersachsen are intertwined.
Oh, good Lord. Right. Okay. So if that's to look forward to, we'll see what Scholz does to damage the reputation of his party. I mean, to take it away from Scholz as an individual. Just as someone in a new job, like it always takes ages to find your feet in a new job, like at least 9 to 12 months. And he's come in here and he's like, well, at least the pandemic, at least we've got a handle on that. And then it's like, boom, war in Europe. And he must just be like, fuck's sake. Fuck's sake. Could I not have had just give me 6 months.
Yeah. Just to get to know different people.
Go around, when you start a new job and you're like, oh, who do I go to for this? And they're like, oh, that's Diane. And then they walk off and you're like, who the fuck is Diane? And you have to work out who Diane is, and you have to work out who the people are that like know everything, Do you
think he's wandering around the chancellery going,
obviously
where's
he's
the
been
photocopier?
In the finance, hasn't he? But that's fine, but it's still a chancellery. It's a different one. They've got a different Diane. It might be something it might not even be called Diane.
Yeah. He's like, my card doesn't work on the fax machine. So.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I haven't got my login yet. He's got IT around everything, and then he's fucking Putin kicking off. Oh dear.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what it's like to be Chancellor of Germany.
We like to pretend that they have different. I mean, they do, and we do hold them to a higher whatever, because we all, I didn't get voted by the country to do my job, thank God. But yeah. Anyway.
I mean, to be fair, he was finance minister for a few years. He should know a little bit about.
You should absolutely know the ins and outs, but in terms of the IT logins and the Dianes of the world, you're
on your own.
It's a whole new ball game.
Indeed so. Okay.
Right.
Other
What's
news?
next? Other news. Yes, please. My Megacan is so good.
I wasn't. This wasn't on our list, but I should mention it.
Shock.
Gerhard Schröder, they want to strip him of his state privileges. Have you heard that?
I heard this. Even the CDU, did they want to take away his pension? Did I get that right?
Especially the CDU. Then, if anyone wants to strip Gerhard Schröder of anything, it'll be the CDU. They hate him. Anyway.
I mean, I think if you're clinging to the billions that you're making, or whatever, millions from Russian gas and oil, should you also be getting a state pension? When some people can't live on their state pension, no thank you.
No, and it's also because they, all former chancellors also still have an office in the Bundestag, I think, and they have, access. They have security, and they have an office staff. They have their own. They have like a secretary paid for by the state still.
Get him out. Send the other staff around to Olav. Help him out a bit. Just get him settled in,
okay.
And then.
And then take it from there.
Take it from there.
Right. So there's that.
Right. What else is going on with...
Well, do you want to know what I did last week?
100%. Always.
I went to Erfurt. Do you know?
Isn't it lovely?
It's beautiful. I think it's one of the prettiest cities in Germany.
It's a real delight.
Yeah. We're not being paid for by the Erfurt Tourist Board, but we love it there.
But I will say that obviously we've been talking quite a lot about different places in Germany today. But, of course, we now have the €9 ticket.
Yeah.
If anyone is unaware of this, you can now get a monthly ticket, first of all, for the BVG if you're in Berlin for just €9. And then that's like that €9 ticket will take you anywhere in Germany, not on the fast trains.
No, on all the regional trains. On
all the regional trains. So now might be a good time not to go to the North Coast or the Ostsee. It will be full. It is already full. I can only imagine the scenes.
Well, they're all
but other places.
Yeah. We haven't talked about Sylt yet, but we'll talk about Sylt another time. There's stuff happening in Sylt.
Is there? Right, sorry.
Brackets. We'll talk about another time. Erfurt, very nice place. I went there because I was tasked by my employer to write an article about why it is that Eastern Europeans have a more sympathetic attitude to Russia.
Eastern Europeans or Eastern Germans?
Eastern Germans. This has started really well.
It's like, not all Eastern Europeans. Hashtag.
Yeah, this has started really well. Okay, Eastern Germans. Why are they there? So there are these different...
This is quite a complex one for us to be doing third after the Mega.
Should have done this first. Okay.
I believe in you.
Okay. So, for example, surveys from before the war started, from like July 2021, found that 50% of Eastern Germans would like Germany to have closer ties with Russia, compared to only 25% of Western Germans. The same survey also found out that 34% of Eastern Germans approved of economic sanctions against Russia, compared to 68% of Western Germans. So quite a big difference there. Mm-hmm. The opinions on Putin were much closer together. I should make that point. Only 60% of Eastern Germans said that he was a dictator. Some 72% of Western Germans thought he was a dictator. So the opinions on Putin were much closer together, but the opinions on Russia were quite far apart.
Okay.
And obviously this has historical reasons.
Yes.
Especially for people in Eastern Germany who are over 40, say, who can still remember the GDR. They can remember learning Russian in school. They can remember having a lot of cultural ties. They might have even met people from the Soviet Union. Mm-hmm. And they would certainly not have met anyone from the West. They would not have met very many Americans or British people or French people, like those people. And so I went there. So I went to a meeting of the Deutsch-Russische Freundschaftsgesellschaft. Well, it was actually a meeting of the Erfurt CDU, who are hosting the head of the Deutsch-Russische Freundschaftsgesellschaft in Thüringen.
So the German-Russian
Friendship
Society.
Yeah.
But is that a CDU thing, or were they just sort of...
No, that's an independent... It's an independent Verein. The head of the CDU in Erfurt, he invited Dr. Kummer to come and give a little lecture about civil society ties and what we should do. And the lecture itself was very like apolitical. He said like even in
I think that in itself is political, but yes, continue.
Yeah, he was sort of saying that, I think it's very important because he's traveled a lot around Russia and Ukraine, and he's got friends in everywhere. He's got friends in Odessa, he's got friends in Kharkiv, he's got friends all over Russia. And he kind of said like, and this guy is 68 years old, so he can remember the GDR, and he has been chairman of this society since the mid-90s, when East Germany was a very different place. It was much more turmoil back in those days.
Yeah.
And he was saying like, yes, I've received a few angry emails since the war started, calling him a Putin versteher or whatever, and nothing that bad. I didn't know if he was saying anything bad. And then he was saying that, and the theme of his lecture was, we should think about a time after the war, like what will happen after the war. And and although he kind of generally, he's a CDU member himself, and he said that I generally support what Olaf Scholz is doing at the moment in this crisis, and also what the German government is doing. I approve of, like he said, like I think it's a good idea to sanction Russia and to send arms to Ukraine so it can defend itself. He's not against any of that, but he also said like he was disappointed when Annalena Baerbock said that raw materials imports from Russia would end forever, right? So he said like he didn't like this word forever. He felt like that was we should be thinking about, like what will happen in the future, because he said like after all, what would have happened to Germany if there had been if we sort of shut out Germany after the Second World War, what would have happened, So he was like, that was kind of his argument.
Yeah.
Anyway, so generally his speech, was, I would say, like, quite benign. But on the website of the Deutsch-Russische Freundschaftsgesellschaft, this is why I even got in touch with him. I noticed that this is a very small society. It's like 150 people, usually like older East Germans. It's not like a movement or anything. It's just a small society in Thüringen, and they did have a website, and they did post on their website. For example, on May the 9th, they posted the whole of Putin's speech in German and English without any comment or context.
I was just going to say, any comment or context?
No.
Are they I don't know what you do on TikTok, but are they sharing Zelensky's videos? Exactly.
That's what I asked him. I said, I noticed that you didn't put Zelensky's speech up on your website. And he said, no, we could have done. That is a fair enough criticism. But we didn't, because we are not, he said, like, we are not a news agency. We are here to just present. He said, I think we should present and the thing is, what his argument was, we should put the whole of Putin's speech on the website without taking quotes out of context or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, so people can make up their own mind. Yeah. But that's such a cop-out. I don't know about this.
And it also says on the website, we are... it is important to present both sides of the argument, and
fuck off. I'm sorry. Absolutely not. Both sides of the argument. No.
And the media power of the West spreads only Western power and hysteria, he said. That's what it says on
no. Oh, absolutely. No. Sorry. I do. I mean, I get his point about like after the war and what if Germany, but like the thing is, we don't remember exactly what was being said about Germany at that time. And of course, there will be a time and a place for rebuilding relationships and bridges with Russia and the Russian people and all of that. It's not for now to have these speeches. Now is not the time. It's not...
No, yeah, I think you're probably
like,
right.
It's not like Russia's going to be, nor should it be for... It's a really complicated thing, I think, and a lot of people are grappling with this. Like, how do you... Like, is this Putin's war? Is it like how complicit are Russian people? And obviously, it's never going to be everybody. But these are very complex questions, and you don't just sort of say, well, No. But do you think that that's indicative of lots of feeling in the East, or is this sort of a bit of a niche? Because these guys have started they're in a little club.
People might
have their feelings about Russia, but not be in a...
Yeah, so afterwards I spoke to a politics professor who works in Chemnitz in the East, and I asked him about, what attitudes he has noticed, and he's commented a lot about this, and he said, until the war started, you did hear a lot of comments like, actually, the Russians are right. NATO is moving closer and closer to been closing in, and but then he said, since the war began, you don't hear that at all anymore amongst Eastern Germans. And he was saying that, then we sort of talked about where this kind of sympathy for Russia or for the former Soviet Union in general has come from. And it's quite interesting because there's kind of there's obviously they have the shared history of communism, but they also have the shared history of post-communism, when there was a lot of chaos in the 1990s in that sort of transitional period. And there was a sense that in East Germany, there was a very strong sense that they were sort of having the Western models were just being imposed on them, the Western capitalist models were being imposed on them, and they had no say in the matter. Yeah. And a lot of Russian people apparently felt something similar. And there's a lot of there's still a lot of, they feel like there's a kind of common experiences that they both had.
And I think I can, that's obviously very understandable. And this idea that not just that these Western things were imposed upon them, but all of this stuff that was promised with capitalism, it didn't, we've talked about this, I think, before. East Germany does not enjoy the same benefits as Western Germany in terms of being Europe's richest country and everything being all oh, look at Volkswagen, and aren't our trains good? I mean, we're now that's not the case for a lot of people and so that's understandable. But
so we're now 32 years after reunification, and there are still no DAX listed German companies based in Eastern Germany. There's no the DAX is the big.
That's why I'm looking. That's a shock face because I understand what you're saying, not an incomprehensible. So the DAX is there. What Dow?
Yeah.
Jones.
It's all the big companies. All the big German companies.
It's floated companies.
Yeah. Publicly listed. Oh God, we're straying into finance again.
Things with shareholders.
Yeah.
What?
So
none?
None of them are based in Eastern Germany at all. Whereas there are a few major economic interests, where if you lived in Eastern Germany, where would you perhaps be most likely to work? And it might be near the Nord Stream pipeline on the Baltic coast, or it might be in Schwedt, where there is a PCK oil refinery, which is also dependent on Russian trade, on Russian oil.
Yeah.
So Robert Habeck, our economy minister,
I think I heard someone interviewed in Schwedt. Yes, I think this was on the radio, and they were like, well, yeah, we obviously don't love the war, but we also,
we need to
having jobs and money to fucking pay the rent.
So the economic ties in Eastern Germany are also more towards the east than they are not necessarily also towards Western Germany and Western capitalism. And anyway, so that was an interesting trip, and I wrote about it to Erfurt. Oh, the other thing about Thüringen in general is that they have a political crisis there in the state. Would you like to hear about the political crisis?
Thüringen, there's usually something going on in Thüringen. And it's super beautiful, and everyone should totally go. I went to Erfurt and then Weimar, which is really close together. You can get the train in 11 minutes or something. Maybe that was the ECE, so you might have to take longer if you're on your €9 ticket. But very beautiful, the home of kind of classical German literature, lots of Goethe, lots of Schiller.
Yeah, Martin Luther preached in the church there. And
all the big lads. All the big lads.
Bach's parents were married, and I went past a church and it said Bach's parents were married here in this church.
I can highly recommend. But what is the crisis?
So the two biggest parties since the last election in Thüringen are Die Linke and the CDU. So obviously they can't do a coalition together. And the natural left-wing coalition would be Die Linke, the SPD and the Greens. But the SPD has only 8 seats and the Greens have only 5 seats. So they don't even have anything close to...
It's a whole other, and it's almost like when we're talking very about the sort of political situation in the Bundestag, whatever, it's not really relevant to discussions. I think you were saying earlier, like, it's all very well for, like, the Bundes-CDU to be like, we will never work with the AfD or Die Linke. And then in Tung, they're like, well, who the fuck else are we supposed to work with? These lads have got loads of seats. We're going to have what?
Yeah.
We're just supposed to not talk to them.
Yeah, and the AfD in the last election also got over 20% of the vote.
What?
So they have 19 seats. So the opposition in Thüringen is the CDU on 21 seats and the AfD on 19 seats. So it's like
that's a wild reality.
So now, the Linke has the biggest faction. So they have a very popular state premier in Bodo.
Someone I know this.
Bodo Ramelow.
There we go.
Yeah, he's been state premier for ages, and everyone loves him. Mm-hmm. But not everyone loves the Linke Party, especially the CDU, who feel like the Linke Party are, the successors to the communist dictatorship, and a lot of older people in Eastern Germany still feel that way. So they've ruled out doing a coalition with them. So now the party, and so basically the Linke is now ruling with a minority coalition. And then that leaves the CDU with a big decision. Either the CDU can force new elections and risk getting even fewer votes, or they can do, what they won't do is do a coalition with the AfD, which they won't do, or they sort of prop up the Linke government unofficially, going from policy to policy, from law to law, saying, okay, we'll give you a few votes for this. That's fine, This is but they're kind of doing this unofficially. They're not really telling anyone. They're saying, like, maybe we'll allow that to happen. Maybe we'll just sort of tacitly. So it makes it very difficult for the government, because they have to figure out, when they do a new law, whether they can get a majority for it.
It's a bit like when Theresa May had to get, like, the DUP unofficially. Exactly. It wasn't a coalition, but they're like, if we gave you, like, £1 billion, can you... And then the poor wee DUP were like, yeah, now we're in on everything. And then everyone remembered that they didn't give a shit about Northern Ireland when they didn't need them anymore.
Yeah.
I see. I mean,
so it's
we've got time for another state election between now and October.
We could fit one in with Thüringen, yeah. I mean, yeah, we could do that, but that would be up to the CDU to do that. Really, they would have to.
Well, I don't
withdraw their support,
I don't have any strings to pull there, really.
So it's a bit of an awkward situation all around.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you know about Thüringen politics.
Yeah.
So
I feel like every time we look at Thüringen, like, something mental is happening.
Well, there was that time. Where
it was all people were throwing flowers around the place.
Yeah. There was the FDP thing.
Yeah, wasn't that then.
Yeah, there was going to be they were going to allow the AfD to rule with this was it. I can't remember it exactly.
I can't remember exactly, but yeah, it was a big scandal. Someone threw flowers at the feet of the...
Yeah, the Linke woman. The Linke woman threw flowers at the feet of the FDP guy because he agreed to work with the AfD on one thing, and she had no respect for him.
Well...
Okay. Well, that's that. That's all the news.
That's it. I feel like we've been on quite a journey this evening.
We have, haven't you?
Have you finished your Megacan?
Ages ago.
How?
Oh,
how do you do it? You must take bigger sips than me. I like to savor it.
Oh, I just guzzle it down.
So would you recommend the Jack Daniel's Lynchburg lemonade to people?
Yeah. I think it's one of my favourites.
Yeah, the Captain Morgan Mojito is legit delicious.
Okay, well...
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yeah. Is it too early to plug our live show?
Oh, no. Yeah, we're
gonna
doing a live show.
But it's not until July. So
it's not until July, but it's not just us. It's really cool. It's the Podfest Berlin. So it's loads of really great podcasts.
Yeah.
I had a little gander at some of the other people who are there.
It's at the Comedy Cafe in Neukölln, right? Is it?
Not exclusively. I'm not sure if that's the only venue, and I don't think there's like a festa, like there's not a set program just yet. But 16th and 17th of July, you should do that, and you can also hopefully come and see us record a live show.
Yeah, we'll have to see what we're going to do
which
then.
We've only done once before.
Yeah.
We do have to. Yeah, maybe you have some ideas what we can do. What do you want to see? Other than our faces, if you haven't seen those before.
Yeah.
All right. Have a lovely week. It's weird not doing this on a Friday because, like, even if it doesn't go out on a Friday, we're usually. But I'm glad we didn't do it yesterday evening because a Sunday evening with the news, I always find it's too much. Yeah.
So you got school in the morning.
Yeah. I think Friday evening or, like a Monday, I've got Monday behind me. It's really the only time.
Okay. All right, good. Well, have a lovely week.
Have a lovely week, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.